So I actually got a yoga ball for a computer chair. I've had some friends who've done that for years. My chair has been hurting my back. I've had lower back pain issues for probably 15 years, and just I guess sitting in a chair with the back encourages slouching, but sitting on the yoga ball, you kind of have to engage your core to stay upright. So, I had to add some air to it, and I think I need to add some more air to it. It says it's a 65 centimeter ball, so I guess you're supposed to pump it up to where it is that height, which is about just a little bit over 25.5 inches. And I think I was maybe a little bit under that, maybe like 25. So, I mean, it's comfortable to sit on, but maybe sinks down a little bit more than I would like. I've been thinking about making like some kind of like a dock or a dish to sit it in, so it doesn't, roll away when I'm not sitting on it. But yeah, I already noticed a difference in this versus the computer chair, so I'm not sure why I wasn't doing this all along. So yeah, I found an injured bird the other day. It was a grackle. It was I was coming around from the backyard through the gate by the trash cans, and there was a grackle kind of floundering on the ground, unable to fly or stand or right itself. It was near the side man door to the garage, so I assume it maybe flew into the windows. I didn't see it, so I don't know that to be a fact, but it was. I guess it wasn't that close. I don't know what happened, but whatever the reason, there was a bird that was unable to fly, flapping around on the ground in the heat of the sun. Shit everywhere, so could have been there for a while or not. I mean, I know they'll do that when they're stressed, but I'm not one to leave an animal to suffer, so picked it up and put it in a cardboard box with a t-shirt. There's a semi-local bird rescue and rehab and research place, maybe about an hour north of here, that I've contacted before for other things. But it was kind of late in the day by the time that I called them, and wasn't able to get anybody on the phone. And I wasn't sure that they were going to be open today. Being the holiday, but apparently they're open every day, which is cool and good to know. But still, I wasn't really trying to drive up that way. Thankfully, they have interns or people that do transport for stuff like that. So they met me closer to my house. So yeah, I wasn't expecting much. I think it might have had some kind of neck injury, if not a break, because it was like its head was drooping and it had a hard time lifting its head. It wasn't paralyzed. It could flap its wings, but it couldn't fly. But while it was in my care, it seemed to recover somewhat. I mean, its eyes weren't vacant, so you could tell it had its wits about it, which was nice. Sometimes with neck or spinal injuries, they seem to go like cross-eyed or whatever, and it just seems like there's not any way there. But I was able to care for it to the best of my ability. It would take water when offered, which is a good sign, I suppose. I wasn't able, I don't think, to get it to eat successfully, but I had some mulberries in the freezer, so I microwaved them and mashed them up, cut them up with scissors. And me and my mom have been processing the peaches from the trees for the past few days, and a lot of them have worms inside of them. And I wasn't sure what kind of worms, but it turns out they're the same curculios that attack the plum trees. So I found one of them and put it in with the mulberries because I looked up what grackles eat. If I didn't mention it, that's what it was. It was a grackle. Um, so it was pecking at the mulberries, but it didn't really seem like it was able to actually get anything down because it can't lift its head up or anything. Probably would have had to try to feed it with a syringe or whatever. But when I gave it that worm, it would peck at it and pinch it with its beak. But again, it couldn't like throw it back to swallow it. So, but it was promising to see that it was even trying. Um, Gave it a bath, washed all the shit off its feathers because it was just sitting in that cardboard box and unable to move and just kind of like shitting and rolling around in it and whatever. And not wanting to leave it like that, so I gave it a bath this morning, and I met the transport for the rehabbers maybe like 12:30 ish. So, I mean, I think I did all that I could do for it within my knowledge and ability. So I could feel good about that. Um, I could have just stepped on its head and said better luck next time or whatever. Sometimes not what I would want to do, obviously, but like sometimes a quick death is merciful and the best option, but as unpleasant as it may be, sometimes it's a decision worth making. But yeah, it seemed to take a liking to me. It seemed to be comforted by my presence. I'd pet its little head and then it would close its eyes, so that made me feel good. I probably care more for this bird that I met yesterday than 90% of human life on Earth. Maybe a bit of a hot take. But yeah, I'm thankful that there are people out there that do what they do for wildlife. Um, I mean, I know a little bit about this and that, so I'll do the best I can, but I can at least take comfort in feeling that it's in better and more competent hands now. So, um, yeah, they'll take in any, native wildlife, not so much invasives. So if you got like a starling or something, they would be obligated to just euthanize it, um, for better or worse. I'm sure they've got their justifications and reasons, but yeah, that's the first bird I was ever able to successfully get to the rehabbers. I called them a few years ago about a Canada goose that I saw that had a injured wing, so it was I can't remember what time of year it was, but either way, it was during their migration, either north or south. And this one looked like it probably got hit by a car and had a broken wing, so it wasn't able to fly. So all the other geese left and left it there. So um, I went up the driveway and spoke to the property owner of the property where I saw him, and just to bring it to his attention, and that I had intended to call the bird rescue folks, but they didn't have any means at the time of sending someone to get them, and I wasn't really equipped or able to do that myself. Um, I guess I could have, but I don't know. You find yourself in these like moral decisions of whether or not it's best or appropriate to even bother to get involved. You know what I mean? I'll often stop to check on roadkill deer to see whether or not they're fresh enough to keep and eat. Whether or not I even have any intention of keeping and eating them. Sometimes I do, but not often. Uh, Usually my mom shuts that down because she says there's no room in the freezer or whatever, whatever. But and it kind of grosses my stepdad out. So, um, but yeah, I'll at least stop and look. And the first one that I kept was one that I actually hit myself, and I'd broken both of its back legs off at the knees. While I was working, I was delivering pizzas at the time, so I went and delivered the pizza, and I came back to check on it, and both of its back legs were broken off at the knees, but it wasn't dead. It was just gravely injured, and it would not have survived in that condition. And worse yet, it might have crawled back in the road and caused another accident. So I put that one down, went back to work and finished my shift, and then I came back and got it and took it home, cut it up, and put it in the freezer. And I'm not someone who has hunted historically a few times for like small game or whatever, but I remember when I was little, my dad brought home a little orphan, little baby deer still with spots, and we would like feed it with goat's milk out of a bottle, and it would just like play around the yard with the dogs and run around loose. I think we probably had a collar on it or something, but it was real, friendly and personable, but it ended up getting hit by a car, and that was pretty devastating at the time. Um, so, always cared for animals, wild or domestic. Probably probably have more care for a injured insect, like a moth or something, than a strange human. Uh, but yeah, so I've also come into situations where I've come across, gotten out to check on a roadkill deer to see how fresh it was, whether or not it was fresh enough to keep, and it was actually like still breathing, like gasping for air. So it's like you have a moral dilemma. Like, is it more humane to just let nature take its course, or end it quickly, or are they comforted by your presence, or does it kind of freak them out and stress them out more than they probably already are? And again, I've done both. Put them down quickly because I intended to keep and eat them, but the ones that I've left alive, um, even though I didn't intend to keep and eat them, I thought maybe somebody else might. So it seems like they would be more. The longer they stay alive, the longer it delays decomposition. So I was like, well, if I don't kill it, it'll stay alive. So maybe it'll be fresh when the next person comes upon it. And you wonder if you made the right decision. You know what I mean? I've had ones that, like, I saw two little deer, still spots, quite small, smaller than the one that we raised. So they must have could have been more than a few months old. I don't remember when this was exactly. a couple years ago, but they're usually born probably like late February into March, I would imagine, because the does that I found dead mid February usually had uh, little ones inside of them. So, and that's never pleasant to come upon, but is what it is. You can bury their remains together or whatever, but yeah. So I found two. I assumed from the same litter. I mean, they were the same size, both hit by cars, and one of them, like the head was fully spun around, so there was no helping or saving that one. The other one just appeared to be unconscious, no visible broken bones or nothing. So I was able to pick that one up gently and get that one to a rehab berth. Though I don't know whether or not it ever made a recovery. I would assume probably not, but my mom was not stoked on eating the little ones, which is fair enough. But like, waste not one not. You know what I mean? They're already dead. But yeah, kind of bummed me out a little bit to think about how careful in general I was with the one that was still alive compared to the one that was obviously dead. Like the one that was potentially recoverable. I slid a board under it in case it had some kind of like spinal injury or something. I was like real careful picking it up, and the other one I just kind of drug it off the road because its head was already spun around, and I was like no saving it anyway. But it's like I don't know. In retrospect, it's like, was that weird or callous or, because it's like at that point, it's like, I guess its soul has already escaped, so it's just like a sack of meat and bone. I don't know. These are the kinds of things that I think about. See, I don't know. Just try to do what feels right in the moment. Um, but yeah, it makes me feel good that I was able to at least make that bird feel comfortable while it was in my care. Uh, Whatever happens to it, if it's not recoverable, if they end up having to euthanize it, whatever. At least, I can feel that it found comfort in the fact that somebody gave it even enough shit to care, because most people wouldn't. You know, um, I live right by the marsh, right by a river. I see roadkill animals all the time, and I feel compelled to at least scrape them off the road and give them a proper send off or burial or whatever, because it just seems kind of undignified to leave them sitting out there. If I were, if I were dead in the street, I would hope someone would, you know, do the same for me. There's a distinct smell of death out by our shed, and I worry that it's one of our yard bunnies. We had some smaller rabbits born probably around April, I imagine. So they were not full grown, but three of them, and I haven't seen. Well, I haven't seen any of them lately, but the other day I went out to the shed and there was a distinct smell of a rotting corpse, but it wasn't somewhere that I could get a clear view of it to see what it was. I don't know that it was the rabbits. I found a dead cat under our back porch, and we've never had cats, but I have seen cats coming in and out of the yard, so they could have injured the rabbits, and the rabbits gone under the shed and died, or cats could have brought their kittens under there, or went under there to have kittens and they died. Found living kittens under there before, not even near the time where I found a dead one, so I still don't know what it was, but I still haven't seen the rabbits since, so I worry that it might have been one of them. You know, we got lots of raptors around here: eagles, ospreys, hawks, things that can pick off a rabbit like that, especially a small one. But there's plenty of places for them to take cover, so makes me feel good that they feel safe and comfortable here when they do decide to stay. A little bit of a refuge. I mean, I live in a residential suburban neighborhood, but it's a fenced-in backyard, and we've got like fruit trees and gardens and stuff, and we don't like spray poisons or stuff in the yard and stuff that some people tend to do. So my mom was wondering if it might not have been, if they get out of the yard and they eat stuff from other people's yards. People like to spray dandelions and stuff like that. Could have been like a poison type thing, but that would be like, purely speculation. And we don't even know what it is that's under there that's dead, just that something's under there is dead. So, I transplanted a crepe myrtle in the backyard from. It was growing inside of our blueberry enclosure. We got probably maybe like a 14 by 8 fenced in netted blueberry garden to keep the birds from eating them or rabbits from getting to them or whatever. And we've got several blueberry plants in there. Got a couple tomatoes. Trying to replant to regrow the rosemary because our rosemary bush mostly died, though it does have some sparse new growth on it. But yeah, we had a few crepe myrtles that were just dropped, I guess, from bird droppings or whatever after they'd eaten seeds or whatever. So stuff just comes up wherever, birds drop the seeds or whatever. So there was a few crepe myrtles in there, a few like wild black cherries. But there was like a flat netted roof across the top, maybe about just over 6 feet. Like I'm 6'3", and it would like catch the button in the top of my hat, so it was like, or I just have to crouch. So I was not super keen on that, but it was fine for my mom. She's like 5'5". But we had a real heavy snow and ice this past winter, and just the weight of the snow and ice on the netting took the roof netting down. So what I wanted to do moving forward, since it's like surrounded by 4x4 posts it's got like chicken wire up the walls, and then it just had like some kind of plastic netting across the roof that was just supported in the center with a post. So what I did was, on those 4x4 posts, I got like a metal, like a bracket you would screw on the porch to mount a flagpole So I got 6 of them and put 3 on either side, and then put a bent piece of half-inch PVC to make an arch across the roof. So there's 3 PVC arches, and then I strung a net across there, so it raised the center of the roof by about 2 feet. So there's plenty of room, plenty of room to walk in there. It's like probably closer to 8 feet in the center, I guess, 7 to 8 feet, maybe about 7.5 feet. Either way, there's plenty of clearance now. I don't know how it'll do if we have another heavy snow, but I would say that this last winter was a bit unusual. I would say overall it was relatively mild to average, but we did have a couple very heavy snows and a few weeks of very cold weather. So it's like we had a unusually large amount of snow, and then freezing rain, and then below freezing temperatures for a couple weeks. So it's like there was a thick layer of snow with a thick layer of ice on it that just didn't melt for several weeks, which I would say is pretty uncommon. I mean, we might get a few light snows here and there, but not often. A fair amount of accumulation. I guess it seems kind of more recent, because I remember pretty often having a fair depth of snow to play in when I was little. But I mean, when I say fair depth, I'm talking maybe like 6, 8, 10 inches or something like that. So I guess if it stays consistently below freezing and snows several times, it'll accumulate. But that's not usually the norm. Like we would be bouncing back and forth from like 60s and 70s to teens and single digits. So get a lot of snow, it would melt. Get a lot of snow, it would melt. But yeah, we had a blizzard. We had that heavy snow, freezing rain, and like 2 weeks of teens or single digit temperatures, and then that melted, and then we had a blizzard where we got like 16 inches overnight or something like that. So I'm not sure which one actually took down the roof netting of the blueberry enclosure, but I think that's probably what killed or mostly killed the rosemary bush too, because once all that snow and ice melted, the whole thing turned brown. So I don't know if it was from blocking the sunlight or what, or if it was just a coincidence, because it's a pretty old plant. It's probably like 10 years. I don't know how long they live, but again, it's got some new growth on it. Probably does need a good trim. I'm not really the green thumb. I just kind of follow my mom's lead and do what she says. Though I have had some luck. Again, I transplanted a crepe myrtle and I thought it died, but it didn't. And I transplanted a passion vine from the farm a couple of years ago, just one single one, and they're like pretty prolific or aggressive spreaders, so you don't want to put them any place where you don't want them to be. Maybe best to plant it in a pot, because they'll just like send a root out and they'll sprout up from the ground all over the place. So we've got several inside the blueberry enclosure that I've actually got to dig up and get rid of. So maybe I'll see if I'm on some gardening groups online, so I'll see if maybe there's anybody local that might be interested in them, or maybe I could sell them or whatever. I don't know. They're real striking, pretty flowers, and the leaves and flowers can be made into tea, which supposedly has, sedative or anti-anxiety properties. edible fruits, and they're local native plant, which is always nice. Planted some pumpkin seeds. I had gotten some pumpkins from my neighbor down the street, whatever they had for display for Halloween. They were just going to chuck them and asked if I wanted them, so I took them. There was these two kind of like square blue pumpkins. I believe they're called Queensland Blues that I've had before. They're striking appearance, so they're a common decorative or ornamental pumpkin, but they've got a thick skin and thick flesh, so they keep well, and they're actually choice edible too. So they're good for pies or savory stuff. They're good for soups. I actually made soup out of one of them a couple months ago. So they've been in the garage since after Halloween, this past Halloween. I think the one that I processed to make soup, I processed around Mother's Day, which is kind of late. So I planted some of those seeds, but that's like about a month later than you'd want to get them started in this area. Usually like mid-April is probably when you'd want to plant them. But my mom said plants need I guess the fruits need 90 to 120 days to ripen. So we'll see how they turn out. I mean, it usually stays pretty warm here pretty late into the fall. So if I don't get anything out of it, it's no big loss. I got probably dozens of seeds, if not hundreds. So I've been trying to make more of an effort to save seeds of stuff that I'd like to replant. So I got like several different kinds of pumpkins, wild lettuce, shiso, cherries, grapes, pawpaws, persimmons, peaches, nectarines. I don't really know what or when I'd like to do something with them. I did. I planted several of the pawpaw seeds out to the farm, but I haven't been back since to check on it. And I don't think it was last year. I think it might have been the year before. So one of these days I'll have to get out there and check on it. I got some spice bush. I'd like to plant that because they're nice plants to have. They make a nice tea. My mom doesn't like it. She said it tastes like kerosene, or diesel fuel. She's not wrong, or at least like I can see what she's saying. But like, I enjoy the way it tastes. So you can use like the fresher growth twigs and leaves to make tea, and you can use the berries. I got several of them. Supposedly they're good for like seasoning game meat. I had used them in my venison jerky and quite liked how it turned out. It's a kind of interesting flavor. It's like somewhere between like citrus, like a grapefruit, or like a grapefruit peel, and black pepper, and then it's got this like kind of like a oiliness or a solvent kind of lingering aftertaste, which I guess is like what my mom was saying tastes like diesel fuel. I like them. Um, Sometimes I'll just grind them up more on pestle, put them in like a cup of beef broth, like reconstituted beef bouillon powder. That's pretty good. but I would like to grow it because they're a striking plant. Host plant for local butterflies, spice swallowtail. So yeah, I'd like to plant one of those. I don't know. I imagine they probably would grow because the fruits I had, I didn't do anything special with them. I just put them in a Tupperware container and they dried out on their own. So, I mean, seeds. Once seeds dry out, they tend to like last indefinitely, to my knowledge. So I know the pawpaw seeds. They say need cold stratification. Like they tend to fall from the trees maybe like mid-September. So the fruits will rot and the seeds will stay in the ground over winter and I guess sprout in the spring. But if you take the fruits and pull the seeds, I guess you would need to recreate those conditions before you try to sprout them. So I guess you would want to put them in like the fridge with a wet paper towel or whatever, fridge or freezer. Um, but I just have all mine dry in a coffee cup. So if I were to plant them in the spring, they might not sprout until after the following winter. But I don't really know. I'm not really like the green thumb. I just kind of just take stuff as it comes in a lot of ways. So I'll throw a bunch of seeds out there. If they grow, they grow. If they don't, they don't. Yeah. Got a bunch of persimmon seeds. It's still early for them yet. They probably don't have fruit on the trees, and probably won't start seeing ripe ones until like early fall. My mom always said that they're not good for eating until after the first frost, which I guess is like a common misconception. But generally, if as long as they're like soft enough to have fallen from the tree on their own, they're good to eat. Or if they like pull off the gentle pressure, they're probably good to eat. If you if you eat them early, they're really kind of like astringent. They'll like pucker your mouth. Like I don't know if you ever you ever accidentally got like deodorant antiperspirant in your mouth. It kind of puckers your mouth from the aluminum or whatever in it. It's a very similar sensation to that. Or like a styptic pencil for like if you cut yourself shaving or whatever. If you ever get that in your mouth, it's not pleasant. Yeah, I don't know what else. Got some pretty warm weather coming up, consistently in the 80s, which isn't like brutal, but it's probably warmer than I want to be outside in the middle of the day, like skateboarding or whatever. So I would like to get back to skating more regularly. I mean, I at least skate around the neighborhood or whatever, but I haven't been to the park lately, and I haven't been to the curb spot down the street lately. So I would like to get it back in the habit of going there, but I usually go at night because it's not hot like it is in the day, and it's vacant and well lit. So there's nobody there to mess with me. Uh, I used to go there like probably a couple nights a week, a couple years ago. Um, I've been a few times fairly recently, but every time I go, I forget to bring a broom or a leaf blower to clear off the parking lot because they get like little pebbles and twigs and stuff that'll stop you up if you hit them. So it's always good to get that stuff out of the way before you get started because that could end the session real quick. So yeah, next time I go there, I'll be sure to bring push broom or a leaf blower to clear out the parking lot. Probably not something you got to bring every time, but if you've not been there for a while, you would at least want to bring it the first time. Or if they've recently mowed, because they'll shoot whatever stuff into the asphalt from the grass. But yeah, I guess that's about it. If you stop by, thanks for stopping by. If not, maybe I'll catch you next time. That's about it. Have a good one.